Well, that was a very eventful day of Phillies baseball. They sweep at the doubleheader against the Washington Nationals. They take the first 3 games from this series. And game 2, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, with all the stress in the world. And game 1, I do have some issues with game 1 specifically due to, like the hitting going quiet the rest of the ball game. A lot of chances to score runs and they don't. And then you have Ranger Suarez getting a lot of frustration off on the mound during that ball game. So there's some issues with game 1. Game 2, the issues came a little later in the ball game. You had a chance to win it in the 9th inning, take it easily. Didi Gregorius overthrows the base. But then the Nationals are just doing Nationals things and making mistakes on their own, basically just letting the Phillies come back into this ball game. Like, what the fuck was that Bryce Harper at bat in the 8th inning? Like, seriously, the strike call was yay high, like yay high up my top of my head, and the umpire decided to call it a strike. I have no idea why. And then Bryce Harper, the very next pitch, drives a 2-run double, ties the ball game up. So I guess at the end of the day, you can thank the umpire for screwing that call up and, allowing Bryce Harper to get that 2-run double. Oh, boy. And then you get Alvarado having to come in for Bilotti. Even though I thought Bilotti did a very solid job, I guess Rob Thompson was going with the matchups lefty on lefty, Alvarado versus Soto. And he walked Soto. It was a battle of it at bats. Got the cruise, grounds out. Should have been the game there. Should have been the easy ending game there, ground out, because Nelson Cruz is 41 and he doesn't run well. Didi Gregorius, for some reason, rushing the entire play and overthrowing Rhys Hoskins, even though Rhys Hoskins probably should have came off the bag to try to prevent the run from scoring. But all that's on Didi. You don't rush that play with a 41-year-old Nelson Cruz running up the bag. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to get into tonight. A lot of stuff. But hey, the Phillies won the doubleheader. They win both games. They win the first 3 games of this series. And they have a chance to take the 4th game tomorrow with Nola on the bump at 4:30. At the end of the day, that's the most important thing. And the Phillies, I believe, have won to start off the month of June. I believe the broadcast that they've won 14 of their first 16 games in the month of June or something like that. So, yeah, this team is still red hot as ever. They're just winning right now, and it's a really fun time. A really, really fun time. So, yeah. And technically, they do win the series. So it's a 5-game series. You won 3 so far, so that's winning the series. So, yeah, you got yourself a series win, and you have a chance to get a 4th win tomorrow. Nola on the bump. So before we get into the rest of this game, everyone, what is going on? And welcome back to TTP Sports. If you are new to the channel, the most important thing you can do is hit that subscribe button. I will greatly appreciate that. If you're looking for all the latest Philadelphia sports news, recaps, and events, this is the place to be at, depending on the outcome, great or miserable, depending on the outcome. And if you are a current viewer of the channel, I am grateful for you being here that long and looking to continue that down the road. And if you're looking for tickets to upcoming sporting events, concerts, whatever you can think of, use the code TTPSPORTS down below for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. So get yourself to any upcoming Phillies game, home game, road trip, whatever you can think of. Basically, it's a free $20 in your pocket, avoids the fees, use it for parking concessions, whatever you can think of. Great deal. Do not pass up on it at all. Use the code TTP Sports for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek today. So we got 2 games to go over today. I was debating whether to, maybe recap the first game, then recap the second game, but I just felt like, hey, might as well just do 2, make it easier on myself. And then we could talk about 2 games tonight, maybe have ourselves a little bit of a longer recap here, a little bit of a hangout here. So we're going to go over the game 1 first, just to get that out of the way, and then we'll go over game 2. So going into game 1, Phillies win that first game by a score of 5-3. Ranger Suarez gets the win, and the offense, they got onto the Nationals early. They were making their mistakes, and then the bullpen had the job from there. Bullpen did a very solid job coming in for Ranger Suarez. Ranger Suarez, though, he managed, he got outs. He did. I wouldn't say he was bad. I don't think he was bad at all. He was okay. I think he was okay. He could have been way better on the mound there, because just entirely looking at Ranger Suarez, happening. It's really just throughout that start for Ranger Suarez, he was getting very frustrated with the strike zone. And granted, the home plate umpire behind the plate was goddamn awful. Adon for the Nationals, who was pitching for them in the game one, he was getting a lot of strike calls where balls were outside the strike zone on the corners, completely outside the box, and he was getting those strike calls. Ranger was not getting anything. And I can understand why you would get frustrated from that, but he was letting that frustration get into his pitches to where he was losing command, where he was throwing balls, where he was walking guys, where he was throwing pitches right over the middle of the plate, where he's allowing home runs to Josh Bell. And Josh Bell was a monster in these 2 games, hit 3 home runs. So yeah, he's annoying. He needs a Philly killer. But Ranger Suarez, that's the one thing that's been noticeable this year for him. He is really, really he's really getting frustrated easily. That's what I'm thinking is affecting a lot of his starts this year. Because I'm noticing more in his starts when he's not getting strike calls, the body language kind of gets, a little sour to where he's like, that's not a strike, and that affects his pitches. So, and granted, I wasn't expected Ranger to replicate what he did last year. That was going to be impossible to do. If he can find a way to be solid this year, that would be perfectly fine. But I'm sensing a lot of frustration in Ranger so far. He's letting the frustration get into his pitches. That's one of those things. If you look at Ranger's stat line from the first game, he went 5 2/3 innings, allowed 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, and a home run allowed to Josh Bell on 94 pitches. But then you go into the bullpen. The bullpen was very, 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 very solid going into the rest of game one. Connor Brogdon pitched an inning in the third, allowed 2 hits, but he was solid, 18 pitches. Seranthony Dominguez dominating once again, goes a full inning, strikes out 2 on 11 pitches, ERA down to 1.8. Brad Hand gets the save in the 9th inning. He allowed a hit and he allowed a walk, so there was a second and third situation. You got a situation where Alec Bohm maybe, once again, probably should have touched third base instead of throwing it over the first. But he gets the strikeout in the end, Brad Hand, to get the save. So the Phillies win that first game. And if you go over the game just to see where the runs come from, the Phillies started off early. Kyle Schwarber led off the game with a double. Bryce Harper reached on an infield single. Then Nick Castellanos doubled to score both runners, made it a 2-0 Phillies lead from there. You go to the top of the third inning. Harper leads off with a single. Then Castellanos doubled once again. So you get a second and third situation. Odubel Herrera gets an RBI groundout, so a productive out right there. Castellanos moves over to third base. And then Alec Bohm with a deep double to right field scores Castellanos, makes it a 4-0 ball game. Nationals respond the next inning. 2 outs. Robles gets a single. Then Thomas gets a double, which scores. Robles makes it 4-1. Then you go to the top of the 6th inning. Phillies make it 5-1 in this situation. Alec Bohm gets a single. Stubbs gets a walk. Schwarber gets a walk. So you get bases loaded in this situation. Bohm is able to score off of a pickoff error. They tried to throw over the first base for some reason to pick off Schwarber and completely overthrows Josh Bell. Bohm scores, makes it a 5-1 ball game from there. Bottom 6. This is when Suarez is still in the mound. You can definitely tell he walks. So he allows a leadoff single. The very next pitch, Juan Soto grounds into a double play. But then there's, a couple of pitches to Nelson Cruz. Maybe he wants back. Maybe they should have been called strikes. And there were definitely pitches that the umpire missed during this specific at-bat too, that Ranger Suarez got really, really frustrated on. Walks Cruz on 4 pitches. And then coming Josh Bell. Throws a pitch. There was another pitch that was probably called a ball that probably should have been called a strike. And then a couple of pitches later, he throws a fastball right down the middle of the plate, and Josh Bell crushes it into the bullpen. 2-run shot. It's a 5-3 ball game all of a sudden. Brogdon has to come in after Suarez allows a 2-out single to Franco. So Brogdon has to come out of that situation. Go top 7. This is when the Phillies, this is one of the other frustrating things here. They get bases loaded with no outs. Bryce Harper walks, Castellanos walks, and Gregorius walks. And the pitcher out there on the mound for the Nationals was Lee. And the first 2 batters, at least. And he couldn't pitch. He couldn't pitch at all. Basically, he's replicating what Jose Alvarado can be on a very bad day, where he's not located in the strike zone, and he's throwing pitches to the back wall, not even touching the catcher. It was that bad. He went through 3 straight batters on 4-pitch walks. Harper 4 pitches, Castellanos 4 pitches, and Didi 4 pitch walks. Well, Edwards Jr. came in to face Didi, but still, that was a 4 pitch walk there. And then you go to the next 3 batters. 0 outs. Try to bring home a run. Blow this ball game open. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. All 3 batters strike out. Odubel Herrera strikes out looking on a full count. Alec Bohm strikes out looking on a full count. And then Bryson Stott strikes out looking. Not what you want to see there. Not what you want to see at all. So, a chance to bring home some runs, and you don't. Connor Brogdon comes back out for the 7th. He's solid after, a bunt single, but still managed to get out of that situation. I think Soto barely missed a home run in this game as well. I believe it was game 2. He actually almost missed a home run, but still, Soto has looked a little off. There were situations, especially I believe it was on the double play before Josh Bell hit the home run. There was a double play, and he just did not hustle whatsoever. So Juan Soto's kind of feeling it this year. His numbers showcase that he is struggling a little bit to start off this year. Dominguez comes out for the bottom of the 8th inning, does a very solid job. Then you go to the bottom of the 9th. A leadoff single, an out, a walk, and then you get the Alec Bohm play maybe where he should have touched third base, but instead froze at the first. But then Brad Hand manages to get Cesar Hernandez to strike out to end the ball game there. So Phillies win the first game by a score of 5-3. Looking at the lineup, Kyle Schwarber goes 1 for 4. Rhys Hoskins had a very quiet night. He went 0 for 5 with 2 strikeouts. Bryce Harper was very good in the first game. He went 3 for 4 with 2 runs scored and a walk. His average is up to 323. My goodness. Nick Castellanos had a really good day at the plate. He went 2 for 4 with 2 runs, with 2 RBIs. Didi Gregorius went over 3, but he had 2 walks. Odubel Herrera went 1 for 5 with an RBI. Alec Bohm went 3 for 5 with an RBI, so he had a really good game 1. Bryson Stott went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts, and Garrett Stubbs went 0 for 2 with 2 walks. So, runners in scoring position in the first game. Now, the Phillies were 3 for 17, and they left 11 runners on base. So, yeah, they had a lot of chances to score in that game, a lot more, and they didn't. But still, they found a way to get the win, and I guess at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So, let's go to Game 2. Game 2 is, interesting, really interesting. Both teams technically, I guess you could say, go with the bullpen game, even though I guess they go with that long reliever that can eat up a couple of innings. Both, starters in this ball game went 5 innings, Falter and Espino for the Nationals. So for Bailey Falter, I would say he was solid enough. Very solid, honestly. 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, and 2 home runs allowed. And both of those home runs were the Josh Bell, of course, on 78 pitches. So it's definitely not the worst thing in the world that Bailey Falter did. I thought he was, overall, he got some big outs, but it was just basically he was leaving pitches right over the middle of the plate, and he walked, important guys when, Josh Bell was coming up the plate. So that happens. But still, I think overall Bailey Falter was pretty solid in the end. So if we look at, and actually before we go into the, the runs scored in this ball game, looking at the bullpen, because the bullpen was a major factor in this game as well. Nick Nelson was not good. He pitched an inning, couldn't locate the strike zone, allowed 2 runs, 1 hit, 2 earned runs, 2 walks on 17 pitches. Corey Knebel came in for the 7th inning. He was actually pretty solid. Pretty solid. 2 strikeouts on 16 pitches. He was really good. He was really good in that inning. So hopefully that's a confidence boost for Corey Knebel. Familia comes in for the 8th inning. Surprisingly, he was decent. He allowed a couple of 2-out hits, but he got 2 strikeouts at the end of the day as well. So, I guess at the end of the day, it wasn't the end of the world. Bilotti came in for the save in the 9th inning. He allowed a hit, but Alvarado comes in to solve the business. All that other stuff happens at the end. So, basically, let's go into the rest of this game before we go into the rest of the bullpen. So, this game was kind of, I guess, quiet for the Phillies early on. Josh Bell, he started off the scoring with a solo shot, crushed it to center field off of Bailey Falter, made it a 1-0 lead. But then we get the Matt Vierling game. The Matt Vierling game started because he responds in the top of the 3rd inning. He goes deep. Solo shot makes it a 1-0 ball game, 1-1 ball game. Munoz walks, and then he goes to second base, and then he manages to score on a throwing error because, the Washington Nationals and their errors, they love throwing them. They try to throw Schwarber out at first base, completely misses Josh Bell, and he's safe, and the run comes home to score. 2-1 Phillies lead. And then Nick Castellanos, well, Rhys Hoskins was actually able to reach on an infield single. Schwarber was able to go to third base on that situation. And then Nick Castellanos grounded into a fielder's choice, scored Schwarber, made it 3-1. So productive out right there for Nick Castellanos. So we go to the bottom of the fifth inning, well, bottom of the fourth inning, actually. Falter still out there. Leadoff walk to Nelson Cruz, and then he allows a home run to Josh Bell, which ties the ball game up at 3. Then the Nationals, this is where they add on some more runs. This is when Nick Nelson is out there on the mound. Leadoff walk to Nelson Cruz, walks Josh Bell. Then there's a wild pitch, which allows the runners to move over. Michael Franco hits a sac fly, and then Garcia gets a double, which scores Josh Bell, makes it a 5-3 ball game. And this is what it's feeling like for the rest of the game. The Phillies offense is quiet this game. The Nationals, they got their runs. Let's see how this ends. So we go to the top of the 8th inning. The very weird inning. The very, 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 very weird inning. Kyle Schwarber leads off with a walk. Nick Castellanos gets a single. So you get a first and second situation. JT Realmuto almost grounds into a double play. Originally, he was called out, but he hustled down the line. Phillies challenged the play. He was ruled safe. Call was overturned. So you get a first and third situation for Bryce Harper. So I guess at the end of the day, you do got to credit JT for hustling. But still, it's another situation where JT Realmuto almost grounded into an inning-ending double play with runners on base. So yeah, that's a little concerning still, to where, he is still struggling. Then we get to the Bryce Harper at bat. He pinch hits for Odubel Herrera. Bryce Harper wasn't playing in game 2. They gave him a game off. So, which was weird, but I guess at the end of the day, I also understand it. Some guys do need to get off their feet in the outfield, and Schwarber was playing DH in this game, so they got him off the field for a majority of the game. Bryce Harper comes in to pinch hit, and this was a weird at bat, because originally, kind of looked like they were going to walk Harper with, the intentional walk. Then you get a 3-0 count. Should have been ball 4. The pitch was yay high. And the umpire called it a strike. Harper looking at here is like, what the fuck? Are you serious? I just don't understand. What world is that a strike? What fucking world is that a strike? I don't understand, but still, okay. Pitch is a strike. 3-1 count. Next pitch, hanging splitter. Harper crushed it in the right center field. It's a double. Scores 2 runs. Ties the ball game up. Alec Bohm had a chance to drive in the go-ahead run, but nothing happened there. But the game is tied at 5. Familia comes in for the 8th inning. He gets the first 2 outs. Then there's an infield single, a single by Franco. But then he manages to strike out Garcia on a very nasty, splitter, actually, from Familia. So at the end of the day, very solid inning by Familia. Rainey comes out on the mound for the Nationals in the 9th. And then you get Matt Vierling. Again, dude knows a thing about game-winning hits, according to his Car Shield commercial. So everyone get protected by Car Shield because of Matt Vierling. He goes deep, makes it a 6-5 ball game, his second of the day. And the Phillies have a chance to win this in the bottom of the 9th inning. They do. Bilotti comes out on the mound. He strikes out the first batter. Then he allows a single, but then manages to strike out Thomas. Rob Thompson decides to go to Jose Alvarado for the matchup-wise to face Juan Soto. It was a battle of the at-bat. It was a 3-1 count, then got to 3-2. And then he threw an obvious ball, and then Soto walks. I was very surprised that the umpire didn't call this a strike because of what he did to the Bryce Harper at bat. So you get to the Josh Bell situation. Well, not the Josh Bell, the Nelson Cruz situation. I don't know why I blanked on that. So Alvarado throws the right pitch, gets the right result. Grounder to Didi Gregorius because he comes into the game as a defensive replacement. Seriously, it was just Ricky Pitalico said it right. It was like one of those games where no one wanted to win. Here, Nationals have the lead. Okay, let's pitch to Bryce Harper. We don't want this ball game. Matt Vierling takes the lead. Didi Gregorius. Oh, here, Nationals. You can tie the ball game up. Like seriously, it's just I'm still like I'm speechless watching. I'm Didi. You don't have to rush that. You have to know who the runner is running up the first base line. It is 41-year-old Nelson Cruz. The dude is not going to out hustle the play. He just isn't. He's not. You don't have to rush that. Overthrows Rhys Hoskins. Run scores. Yes, Rhys Hoskins probably should have jumped off the bag to try to get the ball to prevent the run from scoring. But at the end of the day, that's all on Didi because he did not have to rush that throw whatsoever. He put himself in that terrible spot. And Alec Boehm has to make a nice play. They do intentionally walk Josh Bell, so the Nationals had bases loaded with a chance to win the ball game. With 2 outs, Alec Boehm makes a nice hustle play to get the last out of the inning to force extras. So we go to the extra innings. Phillies, top 10, ghost runner on base. Rhys Hoskins kind of got lucky during his at-bat because it was a 2-strike count. Strike 3 should have happened. It was right down the middle of the plate. And I guess from the way that the catcher caught the ball, it was right down the middle of the plate, but I guess of the way he caught it, because he went this way catching the ball, I guess the umpire just decided, okay, that's not a strike. So Rhys got lucky that at bat, and then he worked himself a walk. So good at bat there by Rhys Hoskins. Nick Castellanos, you can say it's a productive out. He moved the runners over the second and third base. Honestly, maybe it's a smart play to prevent the JT Realmuto double play to end the inning. So JT Realmuto comes up, 1-1 count, sinker on the inside part of the plate, chops it up the middle. Nationals are playing the defense in. He gets it through the hole. Kyle Schwarber scores, and then you hear Rhys Hoskins is running around third. You see the throw coming home, and then Rhys Hoskins is out by 50,000 feet. I'm like, Rhys, Dusty Wathan, why the fuck are you sending Rhys Hoskins? But then you see the umpires start to converse with each other. You see an umpire trying to talk to Mike Franco. You hear Tom McCarthy in the broadcast booth saying that, oh, they're probably going to count this because the defense interfered with Rhys Hoskins on the base path. And then when you see the replay, because the rule states if the infielder is interfering with the base path of the runner when he does not have the ball, it's clear interference, and I guess you can count it as a very smart play by Dusty Wathan to send Rhys Hoskins because he knew it was interference on that instance to allow the run to score. So, yeah, the run scores. So it was a very weird play. You see Martinez, the manager for the Nationals, going out there, getting his money's worth with the umpire, getting ejected from the game. But hey, JT Realmuto came up clutch in that moment. Got 2 RBI there. Made it a 8-6 ball game. Alvarado actually had an at-bat, though. Worked the count, too. 2-2 count. He struck out on all fastballs, though. He wasn't swinging at all. He wasn't swinging. Imagine if Jose Alvarado hit a 2-run bomb. That would have been fucking hilarious. So we go to the bottom of the 10th. Ghost runner out there for the Nationals. Alvarado back out there on the mound. Strikes out Michael Franco, and then gets Garcia the ground out. It was a good play by Bryson Stott, too, to prevent, honestly, a single and a run from scoring. 2 outs there. First pitch to Adrianza, who was 0-4 in the night, so I'm saying, okay, hopefully this is an easy out. Nope, because he doubles down the right field line, and that scores, Rhys, makes it 8-7. And then the tying run is on second base for the Nationals, and the winning run, technically, and Cesar Hernandez is up at the plate. Thankfully, Cesar Hernandez swung at the first pitch, chopped it to Alec Boehm, and Alec Boehm, had a little bit of an ugly throw to Rhys Hoskins, but, it was probably prettier than Didi's. Got the out, got the result, and the Phillies win the ball game, but still, it wasn't a pretty throw from Rhys Hoskins, not Rhys Hoskins, from Alec Boehm. But still, got the win. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. 8-7. Phillies are now 4 games above 500, 35-31. They have won 4 straight games. They sweep the doubleheader. Take the first 3 games of this series against the Nationals. They have a chance to not sweep. They have a chance to take the 4th game of this series. But they were Nola on the bump tomorrow. So yeah, why not? Why the hell not take that opportunity? Definitely. So going to the lineup today for game 2. Kyle Schwarber in the DH position had a pretty solid game. Went 1 for 3 with two walks and 3 runs scored. Rhys Hoskins went 1 for 3 with 2 walks. Nick Castellanos went 1 for 5 with an RBI. JT Realmuto went 1 for 5. He got the huge hit in the 10th inning with 2 RBI. Dubal Herrera goes over 3. Bryce Harper with the huge pinch hit opportunity. That double, 2 RBIs on the day. So apparently, you get the at bat from Jose Alvarado. He goes over 1 because for some reason, I guess this only applies to Shohei Ohtani. I'm not sure why when you pinch hit and move, everything with the DH, you're not allowed to, bring in that pinch hitter and he can be the DH for some reason. Because, when they pinched hit for Dubal Herrera, they moved Kyle Schwarber to left field. Matt Vierling moved to center. And then when you get rid of the DH, you have to bat the pitcher. I don't know why they just can't make the rule. Okay, if you bring in the pinch hitter and you make all these defensive replacements, why can't you just bring in someone to be the DH? It's kind of a weird thing, but Alec Bohm, after going 3 for 5 in the first game, he goes over 5 in this game. Bryson Stott goes over 4, so he's struggling a little bit, the past couple of games. He hasn't had a hit in a while. Matt Vierling, huge game, huge game, 2 for 3 with 2 solo shots. Matt Vierling knows a thing or two about game-winning hits. Munoz, he goes over 2 with a walk and a run scored. DD in his only at bat, he goes over 1. He's struggling a little bit the past couple of games. His average is dipping down to the 280s. Runners in scoring position, the Phillies were 3 for 12 in this game. They left 5 runners on base. And hey, they got to win. They swept the doubleheader, something that they don't do, something that the Phillies just don't do. I feel like they said on the post game that this is their second doubleheader sweep in their past 20-something doubleheaders. So yeah, the Phillies don't do it often. They don't. So it's nice to see a doubleheader sweep. And yet doubleheaders are definitely very hard to sweep. Let's not put that under the rug. The doubleheaders are hard to sweep. And the Phillies at least did that today against a very bad team in the Nationals. So looking at the rest of this series, you got a game at 4:30 tomorrow. Aaron Nola is going to be going up against Josiah Gray. And Josiah Gray is 6-4 on the season with a 4.33 ERA and a 1.32 WHIP. Looking at his previous games, his last game was against the Miami Marlins. He actually pitched pretty well, allowed no runs in 5 innings. Against the Cincinnati Reds, went 6 innings, allowed 2 runs. Against the Rockies, went 5 innings, allowed a run. The Dodgers, in May, he allowed 7 runs. So he's been pretty solid his past 3 outings. I guess he's due for a stinker. He's definitely due for a stinker there. And then the Sunday game, which is going to be 12:05 on Father's Day, 12:05, which is going to be on Peacock too. It's going to be Zack Eflin going up against Jackson Terrell. And he has, I'm assuming, 1 start this year, a 15 ERA. A 15 ERA. So when was his only start was against the Atlanta Braves on June 14th. So that wasn't that long ago. He pitched 4 innings, out 7 earned runs, 3 home runs. So, yeah, that is the pitching stuff for the Nationals coming up. Interesting. And then you look at the rest of the road trip after this National Series. You got these last 2 games against Washington, and then you get a day off on Monday, and then you go on the road for 2 games against the Texas Rangers. Kyle Gibson and Zach Wheeler are going to be on the mound for that series, and then you're going to have a 4-game weekend series against the tough San Diego Padres. Suarez, Nola, Eflin, Gibson are going to be on the mound. That series going up against Mackenzie Gore, Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, and Sean Manaea. So you're going up against the better pitchers for the Padres there. So yeah, it's going to be a very tough series. So get the wins against the easier teams when you can, and then prepare for that tough series. So, and then you come home for 3 straight series against the Braves, the Cardinals, and the Nationals going into July, and then the rest of the schedule from there. But overall, you swept the doubleheader, which is very nice to see. Very, very, very nice to see there. Looking at some guys in the comment section. How did JT single score 2 runs? Can you explain? You don't understand. So the rule states that if the infielder doesn't have the ball and he gets into the running path of the base runner, that is called interference, and the runner is going to be ruled safe wherever he was. So I guess at that point, Rhys Hoskins was rounding third base. I know it was at the beginning of the play, and he interfered with the runner. Because I guess at that point, if there wasn't any interference, Rhys Hoskins probably would have had a better chance to score. But I guess the rule states, he interfered with Rhys Hoskins. The infielder was nowhere close to getting the ball. So he got in the base path of Rhys, preventing him from, getting any good running speed there, even though Rhys Hoskins doesn't really have speed to begin with. But he prevented his running path, basically. And he was rounding third, and I guess he had a chance to score, and the umpire ruled interference, so they gave the Phillies the run. So I guess that's probably the best way I can explain it. I probably made it sounding very confusing, but that was the best way I can explain it. Scott says, believe it or not, he is the only one that's going to say this tonight. Dave Martinez decided to pitch to one of the best hitters on the planet. Are you serious? No wonder this Nats team is just awful. Yeah, that is very, very confusing why he decided to pitch to Bryce Harper. I don't know why that happened. Mr. W says Matt Vierling knows a thing or two about big hits. Surprised seeing Didi make that wild throw at the end here. That was very surprising. I don't know why Didi rushed that play. I just don't understand. That Bryce Harper at bat was one of the most hype I've been all season just because of that ball 4 call and the boost. Nola petition for Alvarado. You got to believe it. World Series or bust, baby. He's all in. Cardiac Kids. That was another crazy one. We all owe the ump a cold one for that strike call. Rattle says the Phillies will not become better if they keep making their wins a pain to watch. Just saying. Man, you don't have to be the Debbie Downer there. You don't have to be the Debbie Downer. Just enjoy the wins. Yeah, it was very stressful. I'm going to enjoy the wins, though. I'm going to enjoy the wins. But yeah, got some good wins here. Got some good wins. You're beating up on a bad team, basically, at this point. That's all you can say at this point. So yeah, got a good wins here. Won yesterday's game. You won the 2 games here in the doubleheader. You have a chance to get the 4th one tomorrow with Aaron Nola on the bump. Go get more wins. Go get more wins. Continue this hot stretch that you're on in this month of June. Just continue it. Continue it, continue it, continue it. So yeah, I think that's where I guess stay right now with this Phillies team. It's a fun time now. It is. It's a fun time watching this team, even though this game was crazy as shit. Game 2 specifically. It was crazy. It was really, really, really crazy. So I think that's where I'm going to call it, folks. I thank you, everyone, here for joining the chat as always. So if you joined the chat late or didn't tune into it at all when it was live, don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. I like to see those as always. Do not forget to drop a like on the video. Do not forget to check out everything in the description below. The Painted Lions, BrodesMedia, everything down there. I recommend it. Also, I recommend hitting that subscribe button and also using the code TTPSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. It's a great deal. Do not pass up on it. And I will see you next time.